Hello, I'm Donna Cohen. I've been involved in the development of the BPCLE framework since the initiative began in 2008. BPCLEtool represents the culmination of a number of projects conducted over many years and has been designed to assist you with implementing the BPCLE framework in your organisation. Since the tool was launched in 2013, we've completed several rounds of improvements and upgrades, the most recent in 2016. One of the resources we've included in the tool is a series of video tutorials that will provide some useful background information, help you navigate around the tool, and guide you through the various implementation steps. With the recent upgrades to the tool's features and functionality, we've also updated the videos and added a few new ones. This first tutorial introduces you to the BPCLE framework itself. Even if you've already read it, you might find this tutorial provides a useful summary of key aspects of the framework.
The BPCLE project began in Victoria at a time when there was a need to significantly increase the clinical placement capacity of health services for all health professional disciplines. This increase was needed to accommodate the increased number of students being enrolled in health professional courses nationally as a way of addressing health workforce shortages. However, stakeholders recognised that simply increasing the number of placements without ensuring each placement was high quality would result in an overall decline in the standard of health professional education being delivered.
So the BPCLE project sought to address the question, what are the elements that are needed to create a positive learning experience for entry-level and early graduate learners?
The stakeholders consulted during the process included education providers, health service staff, and learners. They covered a broad cross-section of professions, health service settings, and geographical locations. The framework that resulted from that process defines 6 elements that are the essential underpinnings for a high-quality clinical learning environment, namely, an organisational culture that values learning, best practice clinical practice, a positive learning environment, an effective health service education provider relationship, effective communication processes, and appropriate resources and facilities. Now, these 6 elements are essentially high-level objectives, which are further defined in terms of 28 sub-objectives across the 6 elements. If you'd like to find out more about the sub-objectives, you can find this diagram in the BPCLE Framework document and also in the Stakeholder Implementation Guidelines document. As well as defining the elements and their sub-objectives, the framework provides some contextual information, including a set of 4 principles that define the assumptions on which the framework is based. These principles are, firstly, patient or client care is an integral component of quality clinical education. Secondly, learning in clinical environments is an essential component of training all health professionals. Thirdly, registration, accreditation, or competency standards set down by professional bodies, where those exist, are the most appropriate mechanism for ensuring that clinical education arrangements meet minimum standards for educational or training outcomes. And finally, many different models of clinical education and training exist, and they successfully produce health professionals of required competency and standard. There's also a discussion on the responsibilities of various stakeholder groups in creating and maintaining best practice clinical learning environments. And there's an introduction to the recommended indicators for measuring performance against the elements of the framework. So that concludes this tutorial on the BPCLE framework. If you haven't already read the document, we recommend you take some time to read it before you continue working with BPCLEtool. You can find a link to the framework document by clicking on the Quick Links button in the black toolbar at the top of the website. Alternatively, you can find information about the framework, its indicators, and its resource kit in the BPCLE knowledge base under the Help button on the black toolbar.
You might find it useful to continue working through the tutorials on the homepage before you attempt to use BPCLEtool to create or complete an assessment of your organisation against the BPCLE framework. The next tutorial in the series is tutorial number 2, Implementing the BPCLE Framework.